Folks, I have the extreme pleasure of having this beautiful, caring, sweet sounding singer from Manitoba who's now living in Alberta. You may know her by her face or by her sound, but her name. So, folks, this is Ollie Owens, the one and only, and she's come out with a brand new album called Nowhere to Hide. 11 beautiful tracks, all composed and done in Nashville at the Briarville Studio and Gnome Productions, I think.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. So, how long have you been working on this album? Because it doesn't get done like that. So,
No. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm delighted to be here to chat with you. Yeah, so the process of recording Nowhere to Hide, it's kind of started about a year and a half ago now,
mhm,
and my producer Bobby Blazier is based down in Nashville, and so we'd been chatting. About the potential of what the next project would look like, and so it was an interesting time for me. You know, Personally, during that time, there was a lot of kind of significant changes happening in my world. We had sold our home to make a move. To support our special needs daughter who had gotten a job in a different part of the city,
mhm,
and with that came the unexpected things. We bought a place, but the renovations took longer, so we were kind of living out of suitcases for a few more months than we were hoping to. And it was during that time that we it's funny how sometimes when life just kind of gets that way, then you kind of go to the things that bring you peace and calm. And so a number of the songs for the record were written during that time. Uh,
mhm.
and uh, and so kind of in preparation for the recording sessions, where we traveled down to Nashville to do the recording. And yes, the two different studios, there was Sweetbriar and Gnome Studios, are the two studios we worked in Nashville, and for the various sessions leading up to the album.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the actual compilation of the songs were recorded in a number of different sessions, with the musicians,
Okay.
and stuff. So yeah, it was quite a year and a half for sure. But really pleased with how it all came together. I'm thrilled with how it turned out. But yeah, it was quite the adventure, writing and then recording the album. Yeah.
That's quite a feat because your last album was released in 2022, got great acclaims, and here you are having to do some shuffling about, living
Yeah.
out of the suitcase while you're trying to juggle your career, juggle your family.
Yeah.
Now, you had some incredible session musicians, and the fact that the album itself had sax, trumpet, the drummer. Well, the drummer was basically the producer of the album.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then you mentioned also that you had an incredible, um, what's the proper term? You had a catalyst in the band by the lead guitarist that played on almost, if not every single track.
Yes, is that Will McFarlane you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so Will, so Bobby's got a long history in the music industry down in Nashville. He's been there for more than 35 years, and um, you know, it, it what's wonderful about working with a producer like him is, he caught my vision for this project. He understood, where we wanted to go sonically. He really wanted, he really got a good grasp on the sound. And with that, he was able to find and put together just the right people to capture that. And Will was definitely one of those people. And it was what was really exciting about these guys that we worked with. It wasn't just a transactional sort of relationship where they came into the session and they played. It wasn't like that. I mean, I've become friends with all of those guys, and Will and I actually wrote two of the songs for the record together. So it even led to some co-writes, and which was a lot of fun to be able to connect, and actually create some songs that made it onto the record. And yeah, the sessions that themselves were quite, there was just this beautiful energy in the room, and it was exciting to be able to all be there together and then to capture that. So that was a really, for me, it was just, the emotive nature of blues music to begin with, but the emotions that I wanted people to feel when they were listening. I feel like, us all being in that room together and then capturing it in the moment. We really, yeah, I feel like that, we were successful in that, and that's very exciting to me.
That's to say the least. I mean, I had to listen to the album twice, if not three. I was going on my third before I did the call, but the powerhouse feel is not without the full emotions. I mean, some of the songs, "Nowhere to Hide" is the title track of the album. It's also got that nice start to the whole project. And then you've got themes going on, love, devotion, support, one of which was Shivers and Butterflies, because you and your husband had, for the lack of a better word, a whirlwind romance. You started your family young, from my understanding.
Hmm.
You're now, as per your recent Instagram post, 26 years married. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Been together a little bit longer than that, but it was a quick
Okay.
start. We kind of knew right off the bat. But
Yes.
that's come with its challenges too, and I think that was the other thing with being with somebody for such a long time. You certainly have your ups and downs throughout the years, and it was funny when we sat down and we started, with Shivers and Butterflies. We were starting to talk about, what were the early days like, because it's, when you're this far in, you don't always remember that, like,
Mm.
and there's like this nervous excitement, where you're kind of like, I really like this person, but I don't know if this is going to work out. Or you have your first fight and you're worried that it's not going to work out, and all that kind of stuff. And so even with the title, I remember when we were coming up with the concept of the title, it's like, that idea got thrown out. And initially I was like, I don't know about that. That's like, it's kind of an interesting title, but then we kind of stuck with it. And I think it just, it kind of captures that, that nervous excitement of young love. And yeah, it was kind of a fun song to write. And then when we got into the studio to record it, it was like, oh yeah, this is fun.
Now, the album has 11 tracks, folks. It's 46 minutes long, and it's also all originals. If I'm not mistaken, maybe one is a cover song. But the one that I'm interested in hearing from you is "The Lord Protect My Child." I understand that this was done specifically. Now, in case you don't know Ollie, she has three daughters. And as she mentioned just earlier on, one of her daughters was cognitively disabled. I don't want to use the wrong term. But the song pertains to that, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so we've got three daughters, and our middle daughter has a cognitive disability. She was born with, and she's um, it's amazing. When I think back over the years, she's a beautiful young woman now, and there's been challenges for sure, but at the same time, I've learned so much from her, and I think with that song, it's interesting because kind of in my early days, I would say, because "Protect My Child" is a Bob Dylan song,
Mhm.
and I. When I discovered Bob, I was in my teens and, really impacted by his writing. And, at that time, that wasn't one of the songs that stood out to me as much as some of the other songs that he wrote.
Mhm.
However, as life happened and all of a sudden I became a mother, and not only of three beautiful daughters, but one who is exceptionally vulnerable in terms of, and will be lifelong,
Mhm.
there was really, that song really started to take on a deeper meaning for me. And I've been singing it at my live shows for years, just performing it. And when it came to this particular project, I just really felt like it was time to bring it to be able to play the version that I've done, or to be able to capture that, and we had such incredible people to do it with. And I remember the day I went in and we did the vocals for that song, um, and it was just really kind of one of those moments where, my hair was standing on end at the end, and I thought, okay, I think we got it, and of course I'm singing it with so much in my heart already. And so it was just really cool to be able to capture that, on this record. Yeah, and I think it's universal. People, any one of us who's a caregiver for anyone. I mean, and that could mean a lot of things for people, not even just small children, but any one of us who's caring for another individual, that's dependent on us. I think that's the beauty of songs like that, where we can speak to things that are universal in nature that many of us experience. And so, yeah, so that song certainly holds a special place in my heart, and I'm thrilled to see that it's other people are feeling it too when they listen. So, yeah.
Folks, in case you haven't noticed, if you have perused her social media sites, Ollie is a big fan of Bob Dylan. It's true.
Hmm.
We can hear it in the way that you speak, the way that you actually bring it into the conversation. But I'm quite happy to actually have had the chance to listen to this and to play it to my audience.
Hmm.
Now, switching the album aside, how long have you been actually been doing music?
Mm, that's a great question. Yeah, so I um, grew up around music. Music was always around us growing up. My parents were both huge music lovers. My mom was into Beatles and Elvis, and my dad was into Southern rock and country. And so, as a kid, I mean, the earliest memory I have singing in public was probably when I was 5 or 6 years old. Um, and coming from a musical family, it was just a part of what we did growing up. And then, of
Mhm.
course, in my teens, I did it a little bit. I played at community events, weddings, funerals, anything. I just wanted to be singing and playing. And then when my husband and I met, and he's a drummer, so we kind of originally met playing music together. Then life happened, and bigger responsibilities came onto the scene, and so we kind of had to make some decisions about what we were going to do with that. So that's kind of when we took a break, and it was a 15-year hiatus for me, and really focusing on my daughters and being present and engaged. And then in 2015, a good friend of mine moved to town and said, "Hey, you should come to the Blues Can Jam. They've got these jams, and you can come and you can sing." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I haven't done that for years." Really, the only music I did for that hiatus time was volunteering as a music therapist in my daughter's classroom. And so
Okay.
I would go in and do recreational music therapy with her classmates, which was a wonderfully satisfying thing. But I figured, my friend finally convinced me to go down to the Blues Can here in Calgary. And Bill Dowie was leading it at the time, who's fairly well-known bluesman here. He's since passed, but wonderful, wonderful man, very supportive. From the first time I got on that stage, he started introducing me to people and started to things just started to kind of happen. And my daughters were doing well, my middle daughter, gaining more independence, and I felt like maybe I could, there was just that delicate balance of needing to be available, but at the same time, knowing when it was time to pursue music more fully. So since 2015, I again, that just was growing and growing, writing and recording, and here we are today. So yeah.
So as I'm trying to think, your husband's been a big supporter, so have your daughters.
Mhm.
What would you say the impact of your musical life would be on your family and vice versa?
Hmm. I think, I think, yeah, I mean, music has always played a fairly large role in my own journey. Growing up, there were different challenges, family challenges, and music kind of was always like that lifeline or that kind of element of, um, where I had my voice and I could, express myself. And I think, for my daughters, kind of watching me go back and pursue this in a way that I'm able to give what's inside to people and share that with people again. I guess, my hope is that it will inspire them to follow what's in their hearts to do, and I think ultimately that it's never too late. We've got often these little voices that cause us to doubt, when we think about pursuing things that we are passionate about. And
Mhm.
so my hope is that as I've been pursuing, what's inside and this thing that I have to give to other people, I hope that will inspire them to do the same with their dreams and things that they have inside to share. Because, I really firmly believe each and every person has something unique and special to share with the world. And a lot of times, whether it's circumstances or whether it's beliefs that we can hold ourselves back. And then people don't get to benefit and experience the wonderful things that we have, and so I guess that's my desire, is that they'll see that. And yes, my partner is very supportive, and because our daughter still does need care and support.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
when I'm gone or when I'm touring or out, he's there ensuring that her she's got the support scheduled and everything. So feel very fortunate in that regard. So
Well,
yeah. Mhm.
your courage and dedication to the craft and to the family is amazing.
Mm.
Um, Now, coming to that, if we use that as an entr'acte, as they say in French, um, what, as a human being, do you have time at all to do hobbies?
Hmm. Um, I would say, that's such a great question. I love reading,
Mhm.
so I read whenever I can. I call that a hobby.
Oh, it's a hobby.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and
something you
I love,
enjoy.
yeah, and I'm a big fan of, like, kind of I believe that, we never stop learning and growing. And I think that, so I love to read stories of other people who have, the life stories, the autobiographies of other musicians or just other people in general in life. So reading would definitely be on that list. And I also do love nature. So when I go out and hike and walk and wherever. I mean, I'm a prairie girl at heart. So whether the land's flat or whether I get to go to the mountains, which is an hour from my house, it doesn't matter to me. I love to be out in nature. So I would say those are probably my two main things that, I do whenever I can, whenever it's possible, just get out in nature and also read a book, just sit and read a book, which I fit it in. I do. Life is busy, life is full, but I fit that in when I can. So,
From what I understand, you have been doing some tours, but not big tours, more like local in between the provinces.
Mhm.
And that kind of keeps you close to home. So if something does arise and you need to be made available, you don't have to worry about having to travel a long distance to get back to home.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the last number of years, that's how I have kind of organized it that way where it's shorter runs. Um, but we're at a place now where as things are developing and growing in my career, I'll be able to, um, you know, travel a bit longer periods away from home, because we are developing a good support network here. So yeah, but to date, it's been, that's kind of been my approach to touring. It's just kind of, a little bit shorter runs, coming back home, just to check in and make sure everything's all going good.
Uh, Now, the last question that I could pose, there's too many, but the one I always finish with is always simple but yet complex. What's your favorite food dish?
Oh, my favorite food dish. That's such a good question. I do love many, many kinds of food. I would say at the moment, because it changes. Um, at the moment, I would say I really enjoy eating. Oh, you know what? I would say this past year, I really enjoyed eating, oh gosh, what's it called? It's the, I don't know if you have the restaurants there, but it's Jerusalem shawarma. So it's very like kind of Mediterranean,
Hmm.
with the pitas and the shawarma chicken and all the delightful bright salads and the golden yellow rice. And yeah, I've really been enjoying that this year. That's probably one of my favorite meals at the moment. And
Okay.
then the hummus. Yeah, but they have amazing
Oh,
hummus.
hummus goes well with pretty much everything. The only exception to the rule is chocolate hummus,
Yeah.
which I've tried, and it's
Yeah, no, I don't think I do it either. I'm a more of a savory gal myself. So yeah,
yeah.
but that would be my favorite at the moment.
My favorite is caramelized onion hummus.
That's really good. Yeah, that's very tasty.
Okay, so folks, Ollie, thank you so much for being a part of this. It was something that I was waiting for to brighten up my evening,
Wonderful, wonderful.
and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the year because you're going to be somewhat busy based on the schedule that I managed to glean.
Yeah, yeah, it's looking like a great year, and I'm thrilled to be getting out there and meeting new people. And I do hope to get as far out far east as you guys. So that's certainly something that we're working on our end. So thank you so
Maybe
much for having me.
you're very much welcome.